Charges against 9 journalists accused of making illegal payments to public officials have been dropped by the Crown Prosecution Service. The CPS said it was scrapping the cases of 9 out of 12 journalists awaiting trial, following an urgent review. Those who will no longer face prosecution under Operation Elveden include former News of the World editor Andy Coulson. It comes after 3 journalists were cleared following an Old Bailey trial. Operation Elveden is the Met Police investigation into allegations of inappropriate payments to police and public officials. Those who will no longer face charges are Andy Coulson, former News of the World editor; Clive Goodman, ex-News of the World Royal editor; Greig Box Turnbull, former Daily Mirror journalist; Stephen Moyes, former Daily Mirror and News of the World journalist; Ryan Sabby, ex-News of the World Royal reporter; Vince Sutton, former Sun journalist; Ben O'Driscoll, Sun journalist; Graham Dudman, Sun journalist; News of the World crime reporter Lucy Panton, who could not be named previously for legal reasons. However, the CPS said it had decided to continue with the prosecutions of 3 Sun journalists, Jamie Pyatt and Chris Farrow, and in a separate case, Anthony France. All 3 are accused of paying police officers. 7 public officials will also continue to face charges, the CPS said. Mr. Coulson faces a separate trial in Scotland, due to start next month, over allegations of perjury. Leave to appeal. The CPS launched its review of the outstanding Operation Elveden cases after the Court of Appeal ruled out a retrial of an ex-News of the World reporter. Lord Chief Justice Lord Thomas found the jury in the reporter's trial should have been directed that there must be serious harm to the public interest for an offence of misconduct in public office to be proved. He also gave ex-News of the World reporter Ryan Sabby leave to appeal against his conviction. Sabby remains the only journalist to be convicted by a jury as part of Operation Elveden, although one other has pleaded guilty. Bob Satchwell, executive director of the Society of Editors, said Operation Elveden had been an incredible fiasco which had caused huge reputational damage to the British press and even greater human costs to the journalists who had faced prosecution. He said, journalists were treated like drug dealers and terrorists with dawn raids and so on for offences which the penalties they might have faced if they had been guilty wouldn't have been anything like the 3.5 years that some of them have had to face waiting for trials. What we've got in the end is 12 ordinary members of the public, time and again in these cases, they have in fact defined the public interest. They have said that it was right for journalists to do their job and carry these stories and publish them. But the Director of Public Prosecutions, Alison Saunders, rejected suggestions the CPS had been too quick to charge the journalists. She said, I think when you look at what this was about and the public inquiries, the fact that this was conduct that we hadn't sort of dealt with before, and the type of conduct. This wasn't about whistleblowing, it was about public officials engaging in corrupt behavior, selling stories over a period of time. Then I think we made the right decisions in accordance with the guidance that we had issued. The CPS said the Court of Appeal ruling would be reflected in updated guidance for prosecutors who have to decide whether suspects should face charges. It said the fresh guidance would also be applied in 5 cases where suspects are currently under investigation and may face prosecution. Of the 29 journalists who have been charged under Operation Elveden, 13 have been cleared following trials. The announcement was also made after 3 journalists had been found not guilty of illegally paying public officials by a jury at London's Old Bailey. Ex-Daily Mirror reporter Graham Brough and the Sun's Neil Millard and Brandon Malinsky were cleared of conspiring to commit misconduct in public office. Sun reporter Tom Wells was also cleared of 2 counts. The jury was discharged after failing to agree verdicts on a 3rd charge against Mr. Wells and 1 count against ex-immigration officer Mark Blake. The CPS has yet to announce whether it will seek a retrial on the 2 remaining counts.